Hey booze, hey, do your blankets feel like super glue in the morning? Well sis, it's time to shake them off. Welcome to Wake Up Happy Sis, the show that jumpstarts your day with a bang. We're strolling down these self-care streets as we navigate the maze of wellness and healing. We're helping you live happy, healed, and whole. And we do it all with a hearty dose of belly laughs for good measure. Stay tuned and get ready to wake up happy, sis. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Wake Up Happy Sis. I'm Leanne Dulce, your host and Chief Self-Love Officer over here at Wake Up Happy Sis. And this show is really about starting your day with a burst of positivity and empowerment. Okay, we're broadcasting live on KCCR, the Brownstone and Brownstone Podcasting Network, where we're changing the narrative for our Black and Brown people because we're telling our stories our way. Okay. And we know it's getting into that season. Everybody wants to wake up a little groggy, a little testy. You know, we're going to be talking. We got two segments today. It's a very special show today. We're going to be talking about the Montgomery Riverfront brawl that happened this weekend. But we're also going to be talking with our guest, Jennifer, about Black philanthropy and its impact on wellness, because we have to be here to support and take care of our own. That means we have to be a part of the solution. We cannot continue to talk about the problems without being a part of the solution. And here on Wake Up Happy Sis and Brownstone Worldwide, that's what we're about. We are about taking care of us, putting us first, because nobody else is going to. And as you've seen over this past weekend with that Montgomery Riverfront brawl, apparently there was we ain't even gonna talk about that yet. Okay, so Jennifer, why don't you introduce yourself to the guests, to everybody, and let them know who you are, what you do.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me back. It really is such an honor to have another opportunity to be able to share some nuggets of wisdom based on my personal experience. My name is Jennifer Opariayi, and I'm a HR consultant. I run my own HR business in the UK called Joa HR Consulting Limited. And that's a little bit about myself.
Yes. So what is your connection to Black philanthropy? What do you see it as in your mind?
I think for me, it's about consciously changing the narrative. And I'll take a step back and maybe break it down into, I think, our parents mean well. We were raised to follow a particular lane or a particular pathway, a particular career, but things change and things are no longer what they used to be. And I definitely started my career in the corporate world. And I think I got tired of doors being closed. I got tired of feeling not being enough.
Yeah.
I know I'm enough, but I got tired of other people not seeing me. And I think what that does is over time it creates an imposter syndrome where you want to aim for the highest that you possibly can, but somehow you feel it's unattainable because the road to get there is blocked. So I got to a point where I had to be honest with myself and say, well, I can either stay as I am and basically accept that this is the furthest I can go in my career, or I can change the narrative. I have a little story which hopefully is relatable that I tell about Cinderella all the time. And it's, apologies in advance if anybody's heard me say Cinderella repeatedly, but you look at this Cinderella story, and I'm going to try and link that to our experience in a way. She had a desire to go to the ball. On paper, everything was against her. She didn't have the right outfit. She didn't have the courage to get there. Her stepmom was in her way. Her stepsisters were in her way. But it didn't stop her from having that will. So before the fairy godmother appeared, she had to have that desire, that will. And then somebody gave her a helping hand. So that's what I call changing the narrative. Have the desire to want to shift gears. to want to do something differently and not staying in the same position. And I think you can definitely create yourself fairy godmothers. Find yourself the right networks that can get you to where you want to be, whether it's setting up your own business, whether it's
Mhm.
remaining in the corporate world, because setting up your own business, running a business, it isn't for everyone. Whatever it is that you want to do, find the right people, remain in their network, and get
Yes.
to where you need to be. Any roadblocks that's in your way, find a way to either go around it, climb over it, sidestep it, whatever you need to do. It's life, I don't believe, is meant to be one smooth journey. I think there's a lot of bumps
Yes.
in the road, and you're going to identify where the bumps are, and experience is what we get. That tells you that there will be bumps. Maturity and experience tells you there will be bumps along the way. So identify the bumps, plan ahead, and ask yourself, what would I do when I get there? Well, you can either roll over, if that's what you want to do, because you've had enough, that's absolutely fine. But don't allow the bumps to stop you from getting to your destination. And I'm going to go back again to the Cinderella story, because even when she got to the ball, that wasn't the end of the story.
Hmm.
She had to leave at a particular time. And sometimes our life journey is also about that, in setting up a business or in career, whatever. It's also about that. But what was significant about that story is that glass slipper that she left behind. I don't know how many weeks, months, years she had to wait for her to be, for the prince to, Prince Charming to find her.
Hmm.
But you've got to wait for your moment. So you've got to know your times and your seasons. So when you get through the bumps, or you encounter a gump, the humps in the road, the frustration that builds up, don't allow that to be a friend, a comforting friend, because sometimes it's
Yes.
easier to wrap yourself around that negativity of you can't, and it's just easy to throw in the towel because it can be draining. But if you're not meant to know everything, and
Hmm.
I'll go back again to find whatever the fairy godmother you need, or your Prince Charming, whatever it is that you need. And it's not that difficult, I think, to build networks. You can find networks either online, by being visible, by going to places where people will get to know about you, build that, organic relationship, so that people will get to know about you. And you find that people will automatically open doors for you anyway. They will help you get
Hmm.
along wherever it is that you're trying to get to.
No, I love that. And I especially love the part about Black philanthropy being about changing the narrative, right? Because that is the heart of Black philanthropy, right? And just taking a step back into what we mean when we're saying that, right? It might be giving, helping others. It might be donating. It might be that you have your own nonprofit organization or company that has philanthropic efforts, community service outreach efforts. But to me, Black philanthropy is also standing up when you see something is wrong that's going against a race of people,
Mm-hmm,
right? Black people first, but when we stand up for others,
mm-hmm,
that is also Black philanthropy, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
When we are supporting causes and we're talking about we're not going to stand for racial injustice, for the killing of our children and our men
mm-hmm,
and our women, right?
mm-hmm,
Those things are Black philanthropy.
mm-hmm,
The foundation that we have for taking care of our community as a priority and
mm-hmm,
not letting the outside worlds or other people's agendas
mm-hmm,
be our story.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We get to write our own stories, and it's all about how we come together
Yeah,
and how we support, and
yeah,
not just when something's wrong,
mm-hmm,
right? We have a, especially here in the States, I'm not sure about how it is in the UK, but in the States, we have a really bad habit of, until something's wrong, we're not really together.
mm,
So worried about keeping up with the Joneses. This person has more than me. I need to look like this. All the superficial things are
mm-hmm,
what we're so focused on,
mm-hmm,
that laws are being changed, like them telling us about the aliens. We've already been known about aliens for years. But you tell us that now so that you can get our minds off of what's the real things that you're doing behind the scenes.
Mhm,
How do we, and so Black philanthropy is our way of changing
mhm,
the narrative.
mhm.
That's how we do it. We have to be visible. We have to be vocal, just like Jennifer said, right? Life is always going to have bumps, turns, twists, problems, but it's about how you respond to them. The
Absolutely.
resilience that we build up
Mhm,
that helps us get through those times and potentially be able to share our testimony and our story with
mhm,
someone else to
mhm,
help them along the way. Because that's the part I think we sometimes miss.
mm, mm.
Once you've made it to a level, you need to reach back and bring somebody else with you. You need to be
Yeah,
helping
yeah,
somebody.
yeah.
And your story, your testimony, your trials and tribulations are going to help somebody else. Nothing is new in this world.
And I'm really glad you hit the nail on the head on that one, because in my experience, people get to the top and they don't feel like they have a responsibility to help other people get
Yes.
there. And it's a shame. It really is a big shame. But one of the other things that I find personally frustrating is that people only tell you the good news story, but you need to tell people the ugly. They
Mhm.
really need to see the ugly side, because it's not just I'm going to start from a place of giving. Even when you start from a place of giving, you are going to, and that's when a conscious decision is being made to give and support. You
Yes.
are going to encounter people that will be ungrateful. So those are the bumps along the
Mhm.
way. But that should not turn you off. And I think there are people, for whatever reason, they get to the top, and then it's almost like I need to separate myself from
Yes.
my race, whether it's conscious or unconscious, because they kind of go into a survival mood. And that's for me why changing the narrative is so important, because I think you need to have a conscious decision that your life has to have a legacy. And it's not always about the big things, it's little things. It's about, well, what legacy am I leaving behind? We all like representation, don't we? If I see someone at the top, it makes me feel hopeful. I rejoice with that person because I feel like I can aspire to get to that point.
Mhm.
So there is a responsibility, even though people don't see it, of climbing the steps and getting to a particular point. You know what the experience is in climbing the steps. You can tell the next person behind you, watch out for
Mhm.
that hole in the middle of the road. And if you forget about that, this is how you can get over it. Because I didn't see the hole. And this is how I dealt with it. So I think there are definitely always a conscious decision to change the narrative. And then you've got to be courageous about things that are uncomfortable. You can't
Yes.
hide behind anything. You've
Yes.
got to be courageous. There is no better way to say it. It's the two C's. You have to choose one, and hopefully, courage is the one that you choose.
Yes. And that is so timely and so impactful because people think courage means you're not scared. That's 100% not what courage is. Courage is being scared and doing it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Going into those environments where you're uncomfortable. If you're an ambivert like me, you have extroverted tendencies, but your natural is to be an introvert. And for me, and I'm not saying that this is everybody who is an introvert or an ambivert, it comes from a place of trauma
Mm, mm,
that at some point you felt that you were not good enough, that you were not smart enough, that your voice didn't matter.
mm.
So you made it a point to kind of shrink back. It's a rejection reflex,
Yeah.
right? It's
Mm-hmm.
a, it's 100% a rejection reflex. Nobody wants to be rejected. Some of us just have that fear somewhere built up in us that we've not had the time, or we're not been in the place to grow and heal that space,
Mhm.
right? So when you're doing and you're being courageous, hey Sharonda, I didn't know Sharonda's supposed to be out this week, but she said, let me get on in this discussion. So
Hi.
so
Hello.
that courageous is necessary, because you're going to get pushback.
Mm, mm,
You're
mm,
going to get pushback when you stand up for what is right, and you come from a place of giving, and you want to help your people, and that means you have to be a world changer. I'm 100% believer that I'm a world changer. I was here to make change, to
mm,
change my community for the
mm,
better.
mhm,
And when you do that, that means people are going to come after you.
mhm,
There's going to be challenges. There's going to be trials and tribulations thrown in your path,
mhm,
because the enemy, the devil, whoever you want to call it,
mhm,
doesn't want to see you move into your greatness.
mhm.
But we have
And
to
here's the
do
thing:
it.
even when you think you would choose comfort over being courageous, it's actually a misleading lane to be in. Because if you want to talk about the devil will find you. You know, you
Mhm.
remain there and be comfortable, or rather be in a full sense of security that you're comfortable. But if you're not part of the conversations that will make change, so that you can get the very comfort you're seeking, you'll find that eventually your comfortable position becomes uncomfortable. So I think you kind of need to start the journey with the courageous. Like you said, fear is there, but you're choosing to be courageous because you're choosing that perhaps in your generation or the generation behind you, there'll be a lane that'll be much better for them. Somebody, couple of people, made where we are a lot easier for us. We're not there yet, but they made such sacrifices that we've come so far. So you don't have to be Martin Luther King to make a big change. You can make a small change wherever you are. Like you said, you're making a change through your podcast, as little as it may seem. Even if you take a small, well, maybe not small, the next generation, and you mentor somebody, you give them your words of wisdom and experience, you take them under your wing, you may be able to give somebody hope in a very hopeless situation. And that in itself is a powerful story to leave behind.
Yes. Now, for me, when I'm looking at what are the things that I can do in my life, right? What are the ways that I can help? What are the things, the activities, the organizations that I can be a part of? Sometimes it's not even that big. Sometimes it's, today I'm going to choose to smile at people. You don't know what difference just a smile and a hello can make in somebody's day sometimes. It might be, you know what? I'm at this restaurant or whatever, and I see that this person is struggling. I pay their bill. It's
Mm,
those little acts of kindness and generosity that start.
mm,
And then when you see something wrong,
mhm,
now don't put yourself in harm's way. I'm
mm,
not saying put yourself in harm's way, but say something.
mm, mm, mm,
Say something. Be a part of that change,
mhm,
right? Because if we want to see change, we can't keep waiting for somebody else to initiate the change. It'll never come. And if you want to be comfortable,
mhm,
what you are is you're always going to be at somebody else's whim and notion,
mm,
because you didn't choose courage to
mm,
where you can step up and say, hey,
mm,
this isn't right. I see you doing this with these employees, but
mhm,
those of us who are black and brown skin are getting this,
mm,
right?
mm,
We have to be the ones to stand up.
mm,
And sometimes that means I'm not working there at that organization. I'm going to build
mhm,
something where I can provide for my people,
mm,
right?
mhm,
But it's also about when you get to that level of not choosing to not be a part of the Black race anymore.
mhm,
So you see a lot of celebrities, athletes, when they make it, their mate of choice doesn't look like their mama, they dad, they aunties, right? They're going for totally different race of women.
Mm,
Now I'm saying love who you want to love.
mm,
But what I don't want to hear is the continued notion of, well, once I got here, Black women just weren't.
mm,
I
mm,
couldn't have a Black wife because
mm,
Black women are so combative, blah, blah, blah. We are because we have to be. We're not combative.
mm,
We are assertive because no one is looking out for us. So we have to look out for ourselves.
mm, mm, mm.
So when we're talking about Black philanthropy and how it, wait, what time is it? Oh, let me do my station identification real quick. You know, we've got things we got to do around here. You are watching Wake Up Happy Sis on KCCR The Brownstone and the Brownstone Podcast Network, where we are changing the narrative for our people because we're always going to tell our stories our way. We're here with, I guess, Jennifer. I'm not even going to try the last name because I want to butcher it. Just going to call her Jenny O, Jennifer O. Call her. All the way from the UK, who has taken some time out of her day to come to talk to us about Black philanthropy and its impact on our wellness. And we've got our host with the most, hostess with the mostest, Sharonda, joining us. Hey, friend. Hey, how are you?
Good morning, everybody.
Let's see. You're on delay again. I told you you can't use that background no more. That background last time you did, the delay started again, friend. I don't know what's going
Okay,
on.
let me see.
I don't know what's going on with it. But while Sharon
Um,
is getting that together, we're going to just have a little bit of a commercial about the Brownstone Worldwide Neighbors Cruise that's coming up in 2024. You want to make sure you're in because we're going to have a good time.
Ready to swap your daily grind for some ocean waves and sunshine? Then join Brownstone Worldwide for the ultimate neighbors retreat aboard Celebrity Cruises. From July 21st through the 27th of 2024, get ready to make waves and unforgettable memories. Our all-inclusive package features plush rooms, drinks on us, complimentary Wi-Fi, and yes, even tips are taken care of. Bask in live entertainment, exciting contests, and be a part of the live tapings of Brownstone podcast shows. Venture beyond the ship with shore excursions to the stunning Key West, Bimini, Bahamas, and Georgetown, Grand Cayman. But here's the catch. These rooms are selling out like hotcakes right now. So don't miss the chance to rub elbows with your favorite Brownstone Air personalities and meet your neighbors in an unforgettable setting. So what are you waiting for? Secure your spot on this epic journey today.
And Key West has been changed to Cozumel. We're going to Mexico. So you need to make sure that you're on the cruise. Make sure you want to be a part of this because we got some special things that are going to be happening on the cruise. You're going to get to meet the on-air personalities. We're having a whole live show. We got a lot going on. Just make sure you stay tuned. Sharonda, let's check
yes,
you out
ma'am.
now. Nope. Still on the delay.
Lovely background, though.
Well, at least it wasn't the background. So, because before when we changed, I don't know what's happening. Okay, come out and come back in, Sharonda, and then let's see now that you have the different background if it changed. Because that was the only consistent thing last time. But we're going to move on to the second piece, and Sharonda's going to come right back in. So when we're talking about the benefits of giving, right? I love talking about that because when you do for others, you are also doing so much for yourself as well. And don't give because you want to get something for yourself. That's not why you give. But because you give and because you are selfless, there's so much more that's going to come back to you, right? That's the way I see it, right? So from an emotional sense, right? when I give and I do something just out of the kindness of my heart, or because I see somebody who needs something, you immediately are going to get a boost. Was that serotonin? It's coming. The happiness is going to build up in you because you see that you have changed somebody's life, even just in a small way. You were able to help somebody who was down, who was out, who wasn't feeling their best. You know, I've had people tell me, you know what, you are such a light.
Mm.
You know, they were like, you are such a light, and your words have helped me so much.
Mm.
And
Mm.
sometimes it's just things you don't even think about. You're
Mm.
just being kind because you see the
Mm.
light shining in somebody else that they don't even see,
Mm.
you know?
And I think sometimes, you know, you can be kind without even realizing that something you're doing has had a profound impact on someone. Somebody could be having a
Mhm.
bad day, and I'm going through memory bank here where people are giving me feedback because I just smiled. I may not have felt like smiling that day, but I don't
Mhm.
want someone else to see my negative energy and feed off that negative energy. But also, when you smile, eventually you believe that whatever you're feeling tends to change. So, a couple of people that I used to work with say, one lady in particular, I always remember, she said, "Oh, when you come in, it's like, oh, hello, good morning." There's some kind of energy in that smile behind making someone else feel special. I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
really? It's just a greeting. It's like, no, absolutely not. It has
Exactly.
a lot, and it means a lot, and I've come to look forward to it. And whatever the person was feeling for, I don't know how long for, to have that feedback, I think was priceless. I wasn't expecting it. The
Mhm.
plan to smile wasn't to get any nice feedback or anything back in return, but to know that just something that is costless is actually helping someone and brightening someone's day. I'm just going to go back. I'm a woman of faith to what the Bible says is better to give than to receive. It's so true. Those words have flesh because actually, like you said, when you give and you're not expecting anything back, that inner feeling, I don't know if you can package it in words, that inner feeling that you get that you've made someone's life a little bit better is absolutely priceless. And for me, there's no reason why you can't give, whatever that giving may be. And I think sometimes you kind of have to break down what giving is. There's giving where you're supporting someone and signposting them so they can get the help that they need, and then making sure that in doing that you are not putting yourself in a position where you absolve the person's problem and you're carrying that problem, but you need to be able to make sure that you're supporting, you're helping, you're signposting. And I think the joy that you get, really, when they say your joy will be full, is absolutely, I challenge anybody. I mean, there's no way anybody's gone through life and get to our age without having given, whether it's money,
Yes.
whether it's time, whether you've given a relationship, or whatever the type of relationship will be, whether at work, at home, social settings, you've given. And already you will know that feeling of being able to give. And like I said earlier, it doesn't necessarily mean when you start off giving that people will be grateful. There'll be a lot more people who are ungrateful than there will be people who are grateful. But don't allow that to stop you from giving, because I think there is that danger, humanly speaking, that you can get to a place where you can get frustrated because you feel like you're
Yeah.
always putting yourself out there and nothing is coming back in the investment. But there's always that one person that will always remember you, that will always come back. And that for me makes sense, and it tops everything else that will, the bumps and the humps I was talking about. Those are the things that they come to frustrate us, but you just have to press on. Like you said, we're in charge of writing our own narrative, and we have to press on. The ending has to be a good news story. It can't always be a negative story.
Yes. And just one fact, because I like to give some facts and stats sometimes on here. Um, the Journal of Social Psychology found that giving to others, even in small ways, is associated with increased levels of happiness and satisfaction. So it's been proven. When you give to others out of the kindness of your heart and expecting nothing in return, you will always get a return back to you tenfold. You will always, even if it's just the feeling of satisfaction, the feeling of happiness that you get knowing that you were able to help somebody else, right? I think it helps give our lives meaning and impact when we are able to do for others, when we are able to say that, you know what, I made a change in this world. I may not have, I may not have cured cancer, but when I left this life, people were sad about that. People's lives were changed because of who I was and the love that I gave out. And that's free, guys. Black philanthropy doesn't always have to cost money.
No.
It's going to cost something: time, money, energy, right? It's going to cost something. If you don't have the money to give, but you have the time and you have the energy, give that because it's needed, right? Our ability to serve our community, to help our community, to make this world a better place than when we leave, than when we got here. I feel like that is all of our responsibility. And sometimes we forget that. We have our ancestors who died to make sure that we have what the freedoms that we do have now, that they're trying to take away. And our philanthropic efforts are going to be the thing that makes a difference, that tells them, I'm sorry, we're not doing that today. You're not going to come over here and take all of our rights away and further subject us to racial discrimination and harassment and all the things that we've had to deal with throughout history. It's sad to say that now our freedoms the freedoms that we've had are being taken away. And partly because I think we are not standing on the front lines and voting, and we're not going to our council people, our state representatives, and telling them what we want and what we need, because we think my vote doesn't matter. It does. Your vote, your action, your courage matters and is needed now more than ever.
And actually, not voting in itself is a form of communication. So you've got to be able to take the right action. I think we owe a lot to ourselves to be a lot more intentional about what we do. It's not just a case of, well, I'm not going to vote. Okay, then you can't complain about whatever that will follow that. If you choose not to vote, you are choosing a particular course of action, and it may result in an outcome that you don't want. But if you exercise your vote, you're getting that step closer to a change.
Yes.
You never really know what politicians will do. They give us a lot of promises, and it's based on the promises that we vote them in power. I've never been a politician. I don't wish to be, but I'm sure it's not easy being a leader. And they all start off, I'm sure, most of them with good intentions. So I think you are right about using that choice to decide, to determine, I'm going to vote because I'm seeking a different outcome. There is a friend of mine that I always have a conversation with in the UK. They don't vote. I'm like, okay, it's your right. Somebody paved the way, made it easy for us to vote, and you're choosing not to vote. But yet they are the first to complain about the lack of changes that is not happening. I've become a broken record where I'm always saying, well, if you're choosing not to vote, you cannot complain about changes.
Yes, that is 100% my thoughts exactly. If you are not going to stand up, if you're going to choose comfort over courage, then you cannot complain because you are not willing to be a part of the solution. You just want to complain about the problem. You can complain as much as you want to, just don't complain to me because I'm going to stop you every time. Did you vote? Then I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
What about you, Sharonda? What you feeling about this?
Absolutely. The voice is very powerful when you use it, but if you don't use it to make the changes that are lasting and that affects, our community, then you're part of the problem if you don't exercise your right to vote, I think.
No, I completely agree. You cannot, either you're part of the problem or you're part of the solution.
Mm.
You have to pick the side that you want to be on. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that, if you want to be a part of this community, then you have to be a part of the community. You can't just come out and have fun when they're having the block parties and they're having the barbecues and the social events. But when something bad happens, you're nowhere to be found.
Mm.
You don't have any, you want to complain about it.
Mm-hmm.
But when we're saying it's time for action, it doesn't mean you're an activist and you're on the front lines. I'm not a front line out there picketing. But you know what I did? I got my ass up. I took my own money and I went and bought them food. I went and bought them water and I brought it down to the people who are picketing. Right? I'm going to use my voice and my platform as a message at all times. Right?
Mm.
So you have to find your lane, find the thing that you can do that you're great at.
Mm.
If you are always on social media,
Mm.
you got all the pictures, all the videos, all the clips, then use that voice. I don't care if only 2 people following you. That's 2 more people who may not have heard, who may be persuaded by something that you say.
Mm.
Because if we don't take care of us, who is going to? We've already seen that the government is not on our side. The police are not always on our side.
Mm.
The laws are not always on our side.
Mm.
So if our people are against us, our people aren't even coming together, then we're destined to fail.
Mm.
Period.
Mm.
And that kind of moves us into kind of our last segment, which is overcoming the barriers to philanthropy, right? Because some people feel like they can't because of their job. We've definitely seen how standing up can jeopardize your career.
Mm-hmm.
Colin Kaepernick,
Mm-hmm.
when he chose to make a stand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we know there are barriers, right? People have limited resources. I can't give because I'm barely making it. Yes, you can. Your time.
Mm-hmm.
If you are good at computers,
Mm-hmm.
I will write social media posts. I will do this. There are plenty of ways, right? So what do you guys see as some of the barriers and how would you recommend we get past those barriers?
Mm. I think.
Well, I think.
Oh, sorry. You go.
For me, give it, like you said, Leanne, about giving your time. So I graduated from Tuskegee University, and as an alum, we have a club that we, support the students that are still there. So I spent hours on our books to make sure that our officers can make informed decisions financially when it comes to supporting our students and things of that nature. So, excuse me, there are many ways that you can give your time. Have we have so many different ways to be able to raise monies to, for the mission of our nonprofit to be able to give back to our students and stuff. So I think when people make excuses of, oh, I don't have the money, this and then the other, they are neglecting the other important aspect of philanthropy, and it is given through your time and your efforts and your works. So.
And you were going to say something, Jennifer?
Yeah, I was going to touch on the barriers. I think, if I may use myself as an example, it took a while for me to accept that social media is a powerful tool. That I need to get over my fear of being visible on social media for all the things that comes with. But if you think about how many people you can reach, You know, rather than spend an hour on one person, you can spend the same hour and you can reach a number of people. And even if you don't have the money, you have experience. If you've got to a certain place in your life, you have experience, whether good or bad, that you'll be able to coach and counsel someone to say, don't follow that road or don't do that. If you're already on that road, watch out for this. This is how you get out of it, untangle yourself, and this is how you can make a better choice and better decision for yourself. And just by virtue of leading a decent life in itself is a way of giving, because there are people that will watch you. They may not necessarily tell you, but they will watch you and they will find you an inspiration, and they may seek to want to do better just because of how you're carrying and projecting yourself. So the forms of giving, it covers so much, but the barriers are so many. And I think if you have a particular fear, you have to learn to overcome that, especially where you've been hurt because you've given so much of yourself and you've got nothing back. You need to learn to accept that that comes with, that people are not always going to be grateful just because you're giving of your time, of your money, even your home, your safe space. It doesn't always result in gratitude, but don't allow that to stop you.
Yes, and I would also
I
say,
also think, go ahead.
oh no, I was going to say, I also think that one of the barriers that kind of relates to that is self-doubt and imposter syndrome, right? That feeling of my support, my input, my whatever isn't good enough or doesn't make a difference.
Mm.
And I would say, when you're looking at how you can help and what's stopping you, it should never be imposter syndrome, because every person has a unique perspective, has a unique experience that they can bring. There is something that you can contribute to. I think everybody thinks giving has to be on such a grand scale. Go in and do one thing that you do well.
Mhm.
If I cook well, you know what? If you guys buy groceries, I will cook for every meeting,
Mm.
right? If we come, I can make meals so that whatever. If you're, whatever it is,
Mm.
right? Just find the thing that you're good at and give out of that gift.
Mm.
And that will help you not feel like you have imposter syndrome or that your contribution is not enough.
Mm.
What were you going to say, Sharonda?
I think also mentoring is a way of philanthropy also, because I have had people come to me and it's like, oh my gosh, you changed my life. Years ago I went to your commissioning when I became an officer, and they're like, oh my gosh, I've never seen that before. And later on they became officers themselves, or went into the army and things of that nature, and you're just living your life, but there's other people looking at you and maybe modeling certain aspects of their life because of what you've shown them by living your life.
Mm.
And so I feel like mentoring is a part of philanthropy as well. So it's the smallest to the largest and all of the things in between that
Mm.
philanthropy touches.
Mm. Mm.
Definitely. Definitely. And so, as we come to the end of this segment, I want to thank Jennifer for coming on and chatting with us today. Why don't you tell the people how they can find you, and if you have any parting words or anything special coming?
I think for me, I'm probably a lot more mature, wiser, a few gray hairs. So I'm in a better position of knowing that what I want to do is to have a life that's full of purpose and meaningful. And I do start the day by telling myself I want to change the narrative. So whatever the day may be, I am in control. I may not be in control of the bumps and the humps or whatever, but I am in control of that chapter, and I will write it the way I want it. And that would be my biggest advice to anybody else. The life is not smooth, but you are still in control, and you can change the narrative. You can change it to end, to have the happy ending that you want. In terms of how people can find me, I'm on Facebook. You can find me under Jennifer Pariayi, or you can find me under Joa, and you can find me on LinkedIn or through my website. And, if I can be in a position to help, give advice, support, encourage, whatever, just send me a message and I'll do whatever I can, or show you someone else who can if I'm not able to help.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And you're more than welcome to stay around for the next segment. But because we're going to be talking about the Montgomery brawl, riverfront brawl that happened this past weekend. So you're welcome to stay and chat with us, as well. So
If you don't mind, sorry,
yeah,
I just need to go, but
yeah.
I will watch offline, if that's okay.
Oh, that is perfect.
Thank you very much.
All right.
All
You
right.
have a great
Thank
day.
you. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. So, whew, I'm sure you've seen what happened in Montgomery, Sharonda.
No, ma'am. Don't take that for granted. I was not even near
Oh,
a
baby,
TV. It was a oh God,
baby, you
what?
have missed. You've missed the mark.
What in the world?
So Montgomery riverfront, there's a ferry boat that needs to dock at the pier. There's a selection of Caucasian individuals who have a pontoon boat that are docked in the space where the ferry is supposed to dock. They won't move. Black security guard comes over and is trying to talk to them. One of the men hauls off and tries to fight this man. Now, when it was seen that the black man was probably going to get the best of him, then the other two people that were there jumped in. Somebody else came and jumped. A couple of other people that were with them came and jumped in, and they started to jump this black man, who was a security guard who was only doing his job. Now, I'm not going to show the video because it does depict violence, and I want to talk about it, but I don't want that to be the focus, right? But then the black people stood up and said, "Oh, hell no, not today," and commenced to standing up for this black man. And so it was a big brawl. It was.
So why the hell was the damn pontoon there in the first place, and they knew they were in the wrong place?
Right. And why wouldn't you just move? So what it says, it happened. Police were called at 7 p.m. To the Montgomery Riverfront Park. All the people were engaged. I mean, there's men fighting, women fighting, the women trying to roll up on the men and fight the men. Like, it was a mess, okay? And it was definitely racially motivated because there was, unfortunately, you have a contingent of the white population who feel that they are above reproach and they are above even the law, right? And they feel that they can do whatever they want because they have money, because they have status, position, power, or just because they have white skin. And I'm not saying this is all white people, because it's not. I specifically said a contingent of the population because it's true. And we're not going to keep hiding behind the narrative that it isn't. We're going to tell the truth and we're going to stand up for what's right. So they try to jump the black man. Black people coming off the ferry boat. One dude swam from maybe another dock or a boat he was on, jumped in the water, came over there to help save this black man's life because they were jumping him. They were 100% jumping him. It was like 5 against 1.
So how's that for philanthropy? coming and standing in the gap.
Stand in the gap, because it all matters. We are no longer going to stand by and idly let you kill our people, hurt our people, harm our people. Philanthropy is standing up for what is right as well. And this was an awesome act of solidarity and standing up. But this is not the end. It goes back to what we were talking about voting and being a part of the political climate in your area. Political climate, you know what I mean, the political scene. You have to be a part of it. Yes, I am so happy that they stood up for this man. Yes, I'm happy that the people who started it went to jail. There were Black people that went to jail.
What?
There was a man wielding one of them fold-up chairs, cracking people. I know he went. I'm pretty sure he went to jail. What I want to see coming out of this is how is justice handed out to the white people who started all of it and to the Black people that came to the aid of that Black man. Because nobody knows.
You can't be surprised, though. You can't be surprised at the bullshittery. You really can't.
Right, but what I want to see happen is justice dispensed appropriately. I don't want to see, because what typically has happened, even in cases where, I remember this was years ago, white boy and a Black boy, college students, were both charged with rape. Okay. Black one didn't do it. He got convicted. He got like 20 years. White boy did do it. They had proof, all of that. And he got a slap on the wrist because the judge said he didn't want this to tarnish that young man's future and career. What?
Bullshittery.
Oh yeah. He got it. Yeah. Because this was just a little thing, and he didn't want it to tarnish that man's career. So that's not justice. I want, you started it, you should be charged with a hate crime, because that's what it was. Because I bet if a white guard had come up to you and said, hey, we need you to move. Plus, let's say the ferry boat was full of Black people. Let's make that distinction as well. So they made a choice to start some shit, and they thought that no one would come to this Black man's aid. Because in the world, we sometimes show that we don't have each other's back. We've shown that to the world, that we don't always have each other's back. I was glad to see that they had that man's back. I'm sorry it had to come to a brawl. I'm sorry people got hurt. But unfortunately, sometimes you have to stand up and be a part of the solution. And sometimes you got to fight fire with fire, because that's all some people understand.
Bullshittery. That's your new vocabulary.
Make sure you go back and watch the video. It's like a minute long. Side note, the girl commentating the video is hilarious. The one recording, she's like standing on the ramp watching the stuff go down. She's commentating, and her commentary is hilarious. But I want it to be clear, because there's multiple videos, different angles of what was happening. And when I tell you, it was 5 or 6 on one at one point. And they're all hitting, maybe kicking this man. I saw punching. I don't know if they were kicking him.
Now, the thing that so I have not seen the video. I really am not going to be surprised at how this plays out. I'm almost considering being impressed that the aggressors or the agitators got put in jail, but I don't know. It's gonna be something ludicrous. I already know.
Oh, you already know. You already know.
That's the part I'm not going to be surprised
I just
about the
want,
outcome.
right. I want justice to be metered out appropriately. I do not want to see that biased version of justice that tends to happen for white people. Like when you've got a Unabomber, you got a bomber a guy who went and shot up a church full of black people, but you take him to go get some food before you take him to jail to make sure he's comfortable and well fed and happy.
But had it been the opposite, had it been a church
They'd
of
have
white
beat him.
people and a black man, oh girl, he would have never made it
He
to
wouldn't
the
have
jail.
made it out. He wouldn't have made it out. And I'm not here
Girl.
to complain and just not be a part of the solution, because we share what's going on this show so that the world can be alerted, so that we can have appropriate discussions to try and ease some of these racial tensions. None of us wants to live in a combative world. I don't want to go somewhere and worry about my safety while I'm at my job, trying to do my job, but I'm worried about my safety.
Right.
Because somebody else feels they're better than me and I'm not worthy of respect. Like, it's ridiculous. And we have to come up with we have to start having these conversations. So it'll be interesting over the next weeks and months to see how this plays out.
Will it though? Because the stuff that happened on January 6th a few years ago, are they even at the end of that?
Some of them have, some of those people were charged and whatever, but they're probably not at the end of it, no. But see? you have to see. Like I said, that was full on treason, or treason, whatever you call it. You guys are enemies of the state. And some of them were getting, don't do that anymore.
See,
but
that's the part I'm not surprised about.
Right, but we have to always push for, vote for, and hope for a better situation, but not be surprised if it turns out the way that things have turned out in the past. What I want us to do is have an action plan for if that happens. How do we react as a community? Because that's where they're getting us, because we do not have solidarity. We do not have unity. We're too worried about what that girl has on. She's cuter than me. She's skinnier than me. She's taller than me. She's thicker than me. She got more or less hair than me, whatever. She drives this kind of car and she dresses this way and everybody loves her. We are so worried about the outside and things that really don't matter in the grand scheme of life, because you can't take none of it with you. We have to get on the stage of we are one people. And as a Black community, we are going to respond to the acts of aggression against us. How do we respond? As a community, how do we respond so that the government makes changes to the laws so that when these racial things come against us, they are treated as acts of, what do you call it? I just said it before.
Hate crimes.
Yes, it's a hate crime. They're so much easier to do it for other races than they are for Black people.
Say that part.
But we need the acts of aggression and violence against us by government officials, by police, by citizens to be treated as acts of hate.
I need the employer of that security guard to step on up and defend him. I'm gonna need that. I need to see that.
You have to stand up for your employees and for what's right.
Yep. Because they were acting on your behalf, doing the job that they're being paid for. I'm gonna need y'all to rally around him and support him and defend
And to
him.
have,
I'm gonna need to see that.
and them people should not ever be allowed to dock there again. You cannot and you shall not. I don't know if there's a way to do that, but you're banned. You're banned. Don't even come back here. They probably don't even live in the state. But that's what we were dealing with this weekend. So there's all kind of memes. You know, the internet streets is hot with all the memes and videos. So you can, I put it in the private chat so you can get the link so you can look at it. I want us to have more dialogue and more conversations around this topic because it's important. So, but that brings us to the end of the show because it's 11 o'clock.
Absolutely.
So, Sharonda, tell the beautiful people where they can find you.
Well, you can find me at bookkeepingforlife.com. I have information cards, so if you need to get a hold of me to help you clean up your books, I'm here to help. I'm on all social platforms at Bookkeeping 101 LLC, and I'm here to help.
All right. And as for me, you can find me on pretty much every social media as Dulce and Lay. Okay. You can also head on over to wakeuphappysis.com. You can subscribe to the show. You can find out about our other programs and services. I'm a self-care strategist and a certified wellness coach. And we have services that can help you live a happy and fulfilling life. So I want you to make sure you check us out and then come back next Monday because our topic next Monday is going to be, this is a good topic. We have a couple of people who want to be on this topic. Romancing yourself. The essentiality. You don't even know about that. The essentiality of self-love and self-care. So make sure you come back tomorrow. All right. With that, I bid you adieu. Love y'all. Have the day that you are supposed to have because you 100% get to control. Oh, Sharonda back. You 100% get to control how you respond to the things that happen in your day. So have the day you want to have. Okay. So we'll see y'all later.
Have a good one.
Where's my outro music? I wasn't ready. My dog Ollie said goodbye too. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Wake Up Happy Sis on KCCR The Brownstone. Make sure you